All right, welcome back to the fifth video in our sequence here, where we're going to build the lid. So this is an acrylic lid here. So here's me. So this is a welcome to the sequence of videos. If you haven't, if you're just starting now, I would encourage you to go back and watch the first four videos that built us up to this model here, where we've got a Raspberry Pi, and if I turn on the 5-position assembly and the actual sense hat here, you can see what's in there, and I've got other items in here that you can turn on and off. But what we're going to do today is we're going to build this piece here, which will go over the top. And notice it's got the same profile as the outer dimensions of the lower box. And it's got a hole here so that you can stick your finger in and work the joystick. So again, very simple. We could imagine building something much more complicated with a hat on top of that button, or on top of that joystick. It's actually a 5-position switch. But for this, we'll just assume that we're going to stick our finger down in that hole to operate it. All right, so let's get back to Fusion. So here's the model that we created. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to turn some of this off so I don't have to stare at it. I'll bring it back in a little bit. In fact, for this next exercise, I don't really need the Pi and the Sense hat here. I can turn this all off. So there we are. So one of the things I want to do here is, in the first four videos, I didn't bother with creating new components for each one of these pieces, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now, because really I want another body, and I'm just going to build another container. It'll make it easier down the road when we start to try to 3D print this. So I'm going to come up here for this body here as part of my larger project, and I'm going to create a component from the body. And so I'm going to rename this component here. Let's see here. Looking for the rename. There it is. Rename. I'm going to call it the base. Fine. And now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to create a new component here. And I'm going to call this component the lid. Okay. All right, so now it's grayed out. I'm going to start this with a sketch on this surface here, that whole surface. I'm going to sketch on that surface. Then I will go ahead and select this, and I'm going to do a projection P. I'll go ahead and, I should have selected that first, but I'll go ahead and select that. And yeah, I'll take that. So now I've got these outer bits of this of the enclosure, the lower enclosure. And I'll go ahead and delete these parts here that I don't really need. And there's probably an easier way to do this. But this is the simple way, I think, for me to explain. There you go. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to then unlink these. So if I select all of this and I break the link, so now I've got lines that will propagate up through. And in fact, I can turn off. Let me turn off the base here so we're not having to stare at it. So these blue lines will go forward. And so I'm going to also come in here and I'm going to delete these circles because I want to have some clearance holes there. It doesn't seem to want to let me delete those. There we go. All right. So to zoom way in, I have to get on it. All right, so there we go. Now I'm going to draw some additional circles here. And so I believe those were 1.75. I'm going to make these 2.5, just so I've got clearance for the screw to go all the way through. Shank of the screw. And 2.5 here. All right. So there we've got our holes. Now what we're missing is the hole for the joystick. So let's go in here and let's turn on this Pi hat. And I'm going to turn off the Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to turn on the Sense hat and this 5-position switch here. And so if I want to get basically a 25 millimeter hole around that, so I'm going to draw this circle, get right on that grid there, and I'll put a 25 millimeter hole there. That's actually looking a little bit too big. Let's make it 20. There we go. So, okay, I think that'll do. And that's a little bit of a guess to see how big, you can do a little trial and error there to figure out what fits best for the finger that's going down in there. All right, so now we've exited that. So now we've got this this sketch sitting here on top of our base. Let's go ahead and extrude it. And I'll select this part here. And I'm going to make this 3 millimeters high, depending on what kind of acrylic you're using. Your mileage may vary there. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on the base, which we turned off a little bit ago. And so now we've got a lid sitting on top of our base, and we could run screws through it. We've got our hole here centered on our switch. Yeah, so that gets us closer to an assembly that looks like this here. We've got that assembly. We can run screws through it. Now in the next video, we'll create a cover that goes over the top of this so that we don't have to look through at the Raspberry Pi, and then we can put some graphics or whatever else. In this case, I created a window for the LED screen, and I added some, a depressed engraving for the lettering here, this E101. All right, so that's it for this one. We'll come back and then we'll add the cover in the next video.